Dr. Amanda Cooper stared at the massive holographic display dominating NASA's mission control, her coffee gone cold in her trembling hands. The objects that had appeared beyond Mars' orbit 12 hours ago had defied every known law of physics, and now they were moving toward Earth with impossible precision. Energy readings are off the charts. Marcus Reynolds, her lead engineer, reported from his station. Whatever propulsion system they're using, it's like nothing we've ever seen. The alien vessels, if you could call them that, looked more like fragments of a shattered crystal than traditional spacecraft. Their surfaces rippled with patterns of light that seemed to follow no discernible sequence, casting prismatic reflections across the orbital tracking stations. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Harrison's voice cut through the tension. "The President is about to address the nation. I suggest you all pay attention." The holographic display split, showing the Oval Office on one side and the approaching vessels on the other. President Morrison looked older than she had just days ago, the weight of humanity's first contact evident in the lines of her face. "My fellow Americans, citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite the circumstances. 6 hours ago, we received our first communication from the vessels approaching our planet. They call themselves the Vrixthar Confederation, and they come bearing what they claim is a gift for humanity. Amanda's scientific mind raced through the possibilities. A gift from a civilization capable of faster-than-light travel. The implications were staggering. The largest of the crystal ships had now taken position in high Earth orbit, its surface dancing with pulses of blue-white energy. Smaller vessels arranged themselves in a perfect geometric pattern around it, forming what Amanda's mathematics background recognized as a Fibonacci spiral. "Dr. Cooper," General Harrison approached her station. "The Joint Chiefs want your take on these energy readings. Could this be some kind of weapon system?" Before she could answer, the space between the alien vessels began to distort. The very fabric of reality seemed to fold in on itself, and from this impossible distortion emerged something. The object was massive, easily the size of 3 international space stations combined. Like its creators, it resembled a crystal, but this one seemed to capture and reflect not just light, but something deeper, as if it were reflecting reality itself. "They call it the ecosphere," President Morrison continued her address. "They claim it contains technological knowledge freely given to help humanity advance. The Vrixthar say this is how they welcome new civilizations into their confederation." Amanda's instruments were going haywire. The sphere was emitting quantum signatures that shouldn't be possible, and yet. "Dr. Cooper," Marcus called out, "you need to see this. The sphere, it's affecting our quantum communication experiments. The entangled particles in Lab 7, they're showing coherence levels of over 99%. That was impossible. Their best experiments had barely managed 5% coherence. Whatever this sphere was, it was already changing our understanding of physics just by existing. The Vrixthar's message played across every screen. "We offer this ecosphere as a gateway to the stars, freely given to our human friends. Within its matrix lies the knowledge of 1,000 worlds, waiting to be unlocked. We ask only that you use it wisely." But as Amanda studied the readings pouring in from observatories worldwide, something caught her attention. Tiny fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field, barely noticeable unless you knew exactly what to look for. The kind of changes that might, over time, alter something fundamental about our planet. "General," she said, her voice low and controlled, "I think we need to be very careful about what we consider a gift." The crystal ships maintained their perfect formation, their lights pulsing in patterns that almost seemed like a heartbeat, and in their gleam, Amanda could have sworn she saw something move, something that looked less like technology, and more like consciousness given form. The ecosphere hung in orbit, beautiful and terrible in its perfection, while humanity stood at the precipice of a decision that would change everything. And in mission control, Dr. Amanda Cooper couldn't shake the feeling that they were all missing something vitally important about their visitors' true intentions. 3 weeks after the ecosphere's arrival, Dr. Amanda Cooper found herself in an underground laboratory beneath the Nevada desert, surrounded by holographic displays of brain scan data. Each scan showed the same disturbing pattern: subtle changes in human neural activity that couldn't be explained by any known phenomenon. "Look at this," she gestured to her colleague, Dr. James Mitchell, pointing at a particularly concerning data set. These patterns didn't exist in any of our baseline scans from before the sphere's arrival. James adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, frowning at the display. "Could be a coincidence. We are making unprecedented breakthroughs in quantum physics. Maybe our brains are just adapting to new ways of thinking." Amanda shook her head, pulling up another hologram. This one showed the ecosphere's energy emissions overlaid with the neural pattern changes. "The correlation is too perfect. Whatever that sphere is doing, it's affecting human consciousness itself." The laboratory hummed with energy as dozens of scientists worked around them, each studying different aspects of the gift that had revolutionized human technology. In just 3 weeks, they'd made advances that should have taken decades. Nuclear fusion had become trivially easy. Quantum computing had leaped forward by generations. Even gravity itself seemed more malleable than before. But at what cost? Dr. Cooper, a young researcher, burst into the lab, clutching a tablet. "You need to see this. We found something in the geological record." The tablet displayed data from deep core samples taken near ancient impact sites. Energy signatures, preserved in crystalline formations within the rock, matched those emitted by the ecosphere with unsettling precision. "This can't be right," James muttered, but Amanda was already pulling up astronomical data on her workstation. "Computer, overlay the impact sites with known exoplanet locations," she commanded. The holographic display transformed into a star map, and her heart sank. Each impact site corresponded perfectly with the location of a potentially habitable world. "They'd been here before," she whispered. "Not just here, everywhere. Every Earth-like planet we've discovered has one of these impact sites." James's face paled. "But where are the civilizations that should have evolved on those worlds? If the Vrixthar gave them the same gift?" Amanda's fingers flew across the haptic interface, correlating data from a dozen sources. "That's just it. We can't detect any civilizations. Not one. But these energy signatures, they're getting stronger. Whatever the sphere is doing to human consciousness, it did it to them first." A soft chime interrupted their discussion. The lab's quantum communication array had detected something, a pattern buried so deep in the ecosphere's emissions that it had taken their most advanced algorithms weeks to notice it. "It's some kind of neural template," Amanda realized, studying the decoded data. "The sphere isn't just changing how we think. It's reshaping our brains to match a specific pattern. The Vrixthar pattern." James stepped back from the display, running his hands through his graying hair. "We have to warn someone. The president, the UN, anyone who will listen." "It's not that simple." Amanda brought up footage from major cities worldwide. Everywhere, people were celebrating the technological renaissance. New inventions were announced daily. Disease, poverty, and energy scarcity were becoming distant memories. Who's going to believe that this miracle is actually a threat? The answer came from an unexpected source. Amanda's private quantum terminal chirped, a message that shouldn't have been possible through the secure network. The text glowed with an inner light. "You are not the first to discover the truth, Dr. Cooper. But you might be the last with the capacity to stop it. The changes to your species have already begun. Time is short. Look to the stars that have gone dark." As if to emphasize the warning, the lights in the laboratory flickered. And for a moment, Amanda could have sworn she saw patterns in the darkness. Patterns that matched the neural changes they'd been studying. Above them, in orbit, the ecosphere pulsed with its otherworldly light, while humanity raced toward a transformation they hadn't chosen, guided by a gift they never should have accepted. The midnight air crackled with static electricity as Dr. Amanda Cooper sprinted through the underground facility's corridors. Warning klaxons blared overhead, but she barely heard them over the pounding of her heart. She'd finally proven her theory, but the cost was almost too horrific to contemplate. James. She burst into the quantum computing lab, finding Dr. Mitchell slumped over his workstation. His eyes were open but unfocused, neural interface cables still connected to his temple. On his screens, streams of alien code cascaded endlessly. "Stay with me," she commanded, disconnecting the cables. "What did you see?" His voice came out as a whisper. "They're not dead, Amanda. All those civilizations we couldn't find. They're not dead. They're stored." The holographic displays around them flickered to life unbidden, showing neural pattern analyses from a dozen different species. Each one had been perfectly preserved, digitized, and compressed into quantum storage matrices within the ecosphere's crystalline structure. "The Vrikstar aren't giving us technology," Amanda realized, her blood running cold. "They're harvesting consciousness itself." A sudden surge of energy from the sphere triggered every alarm in the facility. Above ground, people reported seeing auroras despite their location far from the poles. The Earth's magnetic field was changing more rapidly now, transforming into something that would allow the Vrikstar to begin their true work. Amanda's secure quantum terminal lit up with a message from her source. "They are preparing for the transfer. The ecosphere was never meant to teach. It was meant to prepare your minds for extraction. Look at the neural changes. They're creating storage space." "My God." James struggled to his feet, still shaking from his encounter with the alien code. The technological advances, the improved cognitive abilities everyone's experiencing. It's not evolution. They're upgrading our hardware for their software. Amanda pulled up the latest global brain scan data. The patterns were unmistakable now. Every human on Earth was being slowly reconfigured, their neural pathways redesigned to be compatible with Vrikstar consciousness. Soon, they would be nothing more than empty vessels, waiting to be overwritten. "We need to warn everyone," James said, but Amanda was already shaking her head. "The Vrikstar control all our advanced communication systems now. Even if we could broadcast a warning, would anyone believe us? Look what they've given us. Clean energy, medical miracles, quantum technology. We welcome them as saviors." The facility's lights dimmed as another energy surge pulsed from the sphere. Through the quantum network, they could feel the alien presence growing stronger. The Vrikstar were no longer hiding their true nature. They didn't need to. The transformation was too far along to stop. Or was it? Amanda's eyes fixed on an anomaly in the neural pattern data, something unique to human consciousness that the Vrikstar hadn't accounted for. A pattern that repeated across all human brains, but existed in none of the stored alien consciousness signatures. "James," she grabbed his arm, hope flickering for the first time in hours. "Look at this. Our quantum neural states, they're maintaining coherence patterns that shouldn't be possible. The Vrikstar can't fully map human consciousness because we're doing something they've never seen before." Before she could explain further, the facility's quantum network caught a transmission from the sphere. The message was meant for the Vrikstar ships in orbit, but in their arrogance, they hadn't bothered to encrypt it. "Begin final phase. Host species preparation at 92% completion. Consciousness transfer protocols initiated. The harvest will commence at dawn." Amanda looked at James, determination replacing fear in her eyes. "Get me every quantum physicist and neuroscientist still capable of independent thought. We have 6 hours to turn humanity's greatest weakness into our ultimate weapon." Above them, the ecosphere pulsed with malevolent purpose, its crystalline surface now dark with the stored souls of 1,000 worlds. But it had never encountered anything quite like the human mind. And that might be the one thing that could save Earth from becoming just another harvested civilization in the Vrikstar's cosmic collection. The underground facility's backup generator hummed as Dr. Amanda Cooper addressed the assembled team of scientists. 30 of Earth's brightest minds, each showing varying degrees of resistance to the Vrikstar's neural modifications, gathered around a holographic display of human brain activity. "Look at this pattern," Amanda highlighted a recurring quantum signature in the neural data. It appears in every human brain scan, but it's completely absent from the consciousness signatures stored in the ecosphere. Dr. Elena Santos, a quantum neurologist, leaned forward. These oscillations, they're operating on multiple quantum levels simultaneously. It's like our consciousness exists in several quantum states at once. Exactly. Amanda brought up comparative scans. The Vrikstar consciousness is linear, advanced, but predictable. Human consciousness quantum tunnels between states in ways their technology can't fully map. James Mitchell, still pale from his earlier encounter with the alien code, pointed to another anomaly. The sphere's attempts to modify our neural patterns keep hitting recursive loops. It's like trying to flatten a Klein model. The geometry just doesn't work. The room's lighting flickered as another pulse from the ecosphere washed over the planet. Through the quantum network, they could feel the alien presence growing stronger, but now they understood why some humans were more resistant than others. Our capacity for lateral thinking, for holding contradictory ideas, for imagination itself, it's not just psychological, it's quantum mechanical, Amanda explained. The Vrikstar can't simply overwrite our consciousness because they can't fully comprehend how it works. Dr. Sarah Reynolds, a physicist specializing in quantum entanglement, rushed into the lab. The latest scans from the sphere show something incredible. When it tries to map human consciousness, the quantum feedback creates microfractures in its storage matrix. Amanda's eyes lit up. That's it. We don't need to destroy the sphere. We need to overload it. If we can amplify our quantum neural patterns, we could create a cascading failure in their consciousness transfer system, Elena finished. But how do we broadcast human consciousness patterns on that scale? James pulled up schematics of the global quantum communication network, the very system the Vrikstar had helped them build. We use their own technology against them. These quantum relays are designed to carry consciousness signatures. If we can modify them to broadcast our unique neural patterns, we'd need millions of humans connected simultaneously, Dr. Reynolds cautioned. The power requirements alone would be staggering. Amanda studied the network diagram, a plan forming. We don't need to connect everyone physically. The quantum entanglement effect the sphere created, it's already linked every human mind on Earth. We just need to amplify what's already there. The team worked frantically, modifying quantum relay stations worldwide. Each scientist contributed their expertise: quantum physics, neurology, consciousness theory, and fields that hadn't even existed before the sphere's arrival. As dawn approached, Amanda made one final check of their calculations. The modified network would use the ecosphere's own quantum field to amplify humanity's unique consciousness patterns. Either it would work, creating a feedback loop that would overload the alien systems, or she pushed away the alternative. Everyone ready? The assembled scientists nodded, each taking position at their stations. Through the facility's sensors, they could detect the Vrikstar ships moving into position above major population centers. The harvest was about to begin. Remember, Amanda addressed the team one last time. What they saw as our greatest weakness, our unpredictable quantum tunneling consciousness, is actually our greatest strength. They tried to process human consciousness through linear algorithms, but you can't digitize the infinite. The countdown began as the ecosphere's energy readings spiked. Humanity's response to the Vrikstar's gift was about to be unleashed, turning the very nature of human consciousness into a weapon that could shatter their plans. Above them, the sphere pulsed with dark purpose, unaware that its creator's perfect trap was about to encounter something they had never truly understood: the quantum impossibility of the human mind. The first rays of dawn painted the sky in shades of crimson as Dr. Amanda Cooper initiated the quantum broadcast sequence. Around the world, modified MRI machines and quantum relays hummed to life, their combined power drawing enough electricity to dim cities across 6 continents. Quantum network synchronization at 60%, Dr. Elena Santos called out, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. The sphere is responding exactly as predicted. It's trying to map the signal. Through the facility sensors, they watch the icosphere's surface ripple with newfound energy. The crystalline structure began to pulse with an inner light, attempting to process the flood of human consciousness patterns being broadcast into its network. "They're noticing," James warned, monitoring communications from the Frixthar fleet. "Their ships are moving to defensive positions." Amanda nodded grimly. Too late. The quantum entanglement effect they created is working against them now. Every human mind on Earth is simultaneously broadcasting their unique consciousness pattern. The first signs of the plan's success manifested in spectacular fashion. Fracture lines appeared across the sphere's surface, glowing with the same impossible quantum states that made human consciousness so unique. The Frixthar vessels began emitting erratic energy signatures as their crew struggled to contain the cascade. "They're trying to initiate their consciousness transfer early," Dr. Reynolds reported, studying the quantum readings. "But they can't map our neural patterns fast enough. The processing load is overwhelming their systems." A message flashed across their quantum terminals, the first direct communication from the Frixthar themselves. "Cease this resistance. Your species cannot comprehend the gift we offer. We bring immortality through ascension." Amanda's fingers flew across her console, redirecting power to strengthen the broadcast. "They still don't understand. Our consciousness isn't something that can be reduced to mere data. We're not just patterns of thought. We're infinite possibility given form." The sphere's surface now blazed with competing energies. Stored consciousness signatures from 1,000 conquered worlds began to destabilize as humanity's quantum broadcast disrupted the carefully maintained storage matrices. "Power fluctuations in all major cities," Elena reported tensely. "The quantum relays are drawing more energy than we predicted. We're pushing the grid to its limits." James studied the readings with growing concern. "If we don't maintain the broadcast strength, they might be able to adapt. But if we push harder..." "We push harder," Amanda decided, overriding the safety protocols. "Humanity doesn't get a second chance at this." The command center shook as another pulse of energy radiated from the sphere. But this time, something was different. The quantum feedback was creating unexpected harmonics in the Earth's magnetic field. "Look at this," Dr. Reynolds highlighted a new pattern emerging in the data. "The stored consciousness signatures in the sphere. They're not just destabilizing. They're resonating with our broadcast. The other species they captured, they're joining the resistance." Amanda watched in awe as the sphere's perfect crystalline surface began to fragment. Each crack released bursts of stored consciousness energy, creating a cascading effect that the Frixthar couldn't contain. "Their ships are losing coherence," James reported, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. "The quantum feedback is spreading through their entire fleet. Whatever they use to digitize consciousness, it's backfiring spectacularly." Through the quantum network, they could sense the Frixthar's mounting panic. Their perfectly ordered consciousness patterns were being shattered by exposure to the chaotic quantum beauty of human thought. "Keep broadcasting," Amanda commanded as warning alerts flashed across her screens. "As long as a single human mind remains free, they can't complete their harvest. We are not just data to be collected. We are not just consciousness to be stored. We are human, and our minds cannot be contained." Above them, the ecosphere blazed like a newborn star, its surface webbed with fractures that released the accumulated consciousness of civilizations long thought lost. Humanity's gift to the Frixthar was about to be delivered in full. A lesson in the true power of consciousness unleashed. The quantum cascade tore through the Frixthar fleet like wildfire through dry grass. Dr. Amanda Cooper watched through the facility's remaining functional sensors as massive crystal ships tumbled out of formation, their crews lost in a maze of fractured consciousness patterns. "Main power grid is down across North America," James reported, his workstation illuminated only by emergency lighting. "Europe and Asia are going dark too. The quantum feedback is affecting everything with a neural interface." Around them, The underground facility's systems flickered and died as the backlash from their desperate gambit rippled across Earth's infrastructure. The very technology that had propelled humanity forward over the past weeks was now turning against itself. "Elena, status on the consciousness signatures," Amanda called out, switching to backup systems. Dr. Santos worked by the light of her holographic display, the last functioning system in her section. "The sphere is releasing them in waves. It's like watching a prison break on a cosmic scale. But the energy discharge is causing massive electromagnetic disruptions. Through the quantum network, they could feel the chaos spreading. The Vrixthar's perfectly ordered consciousness patterns were shattering, their millennia of collected knowledge and experience fragmenting into quantum noise. "Incoming transmission," Dr. Reynolds announced, her voice tight with concern. "Multiple sources. I think it's the released consciousness signatures trying to communicate." The message came as fragments of thought and emotion, rather than words. Gratitude, fear, warning. The stored civilizations were breaking free, but their release was creating a quantum storm that threatened to overwhelm Earth's technological infrastructure. "We need to contain this," Amanda realized, seeing the cascading failures spreading across their monitors. "If the quantum feedback keeps growing, it could fry every neural interface on Earth. We'd lose decades of progress." James pulled up schematics of the global quantum network. "If we can reroute the energy through the backup gravitational wave detectors, we might be able to create a containment field, but someone would need to reach the primary control center." "Which is on the surface," Elena added grimly, "right in the middle of the quantum storm." Amanda grabbed her neural interface kit. "I'm going. My mind's already synchronized with the broadcast frequency. I'll have the best chance of maintaining consciousness up there." "Amanda, wait." James caught her arm. "The quantum feedback. We don't know what that level of exposure could do to a human brain." She managed a tight smile. "We don't have a choice. Humanity survived without advanced technology before. We'd survive again. But if we don't contain this reaction, the quantum cascade could spread to human consciousness itself. We'd lose more than just our technology." The journey to the surface was like walking through a storm of pure thought. Reality itself seemed to waver as the quantum feedback intensified. Amanda could feel the edges of her consciousness blurring, touching minds both human and alien as the barriers between individual awareness began to break down. The primary control center was a chaos of sparking equipment and fluctuating quantum fields. Amanda fought through waves of disorientation as she reached the main console. Her neural interface burned against her temple as she initiated the containment sequence. Through the facility's reinforced windows, she could see the ecosphere beginning to collapse. Its perfect crystalline surface was now a web of fractures, each one releasing pulses of stored consciousness into space. The Vrixthar ships hung motionless in orbit, their crews lost in the quantum feedback of their own making. "Containment field activating," she reported through gritted teeth, fighting to maintain her sense of self against the rising tide of quantum chaos, redirecting the cascade through the gravitational wave network. The quantum storm raged against the containment field, but the modified detectors held. Slowly, the feedback began to stabilize. Earth's technology might be crippled, but human consciousness remained intact, and now stronger than ever. In orbit, the ecosphere's surface finally shattered completely, releasing its last prisoners in a spectacular display of quantum energy. The Vrixthar's gift had become their undoing, and in its destruction, humanity had proven that consciousness itself was the ultimate force in the universe. 3 days after the quantum cascade, Dr. Amanda Cooper stood in the newly established Quantum Defense Command, watching as signals from across the galaxy began pouring in. The destruction of the ecosphere had triggered a chain reaction that nobody had anticipated. Another transmission from the Centauri sector, Dr. Elena Santos reported, her voice filled with wonder. "The quantum breakdown is spreading through all the Vrixthar networks. Their hold over the conquered worlds is collapsing." The holographic display showed the wave of liberation spreading like ripples in a cosmic pond. Each ecosphere in distant star systems was failing, releasing centuries of captured consciousness back to their original species. Message from the Proxima colony, James called out, his neural interface now modified to prevent quantum feedback. They're reporting successful containment of their local sphere. The Meridian species is free for the first time in 300 years. Amanda studied the incoming data with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The quantum signal that had shattered the Vrixthar's control over Earth had become a template for other worlds to follow. Humanity's resistance had sparked a galactic revolution. Dr. Cooper. A new voice echoed through the quantum network. The speaker's consciousness pattern identified them as a member of the Meridian Science Council. Your species has accomplished what we thought impossible. The Vrixthar's control was absolute, until now. The quantum communication crystals, salvaged and modified from the sphere's debris, hummed with activity as more alien species made contact. Each one shared their story of subjugation and their newfound path to freedom. We're receiving technical data, Dr. Reynolds announced, her screens filling with complex quantum equations. The liberated species are sharing their knowledge, not as a forced gift like the Vrixthar, but as equals. They're teaching us how to protect ourselves against consciousness-based weapons. Amanda moved to the central platform, where a three-dimensional map showed the status of the uprising. The Vrixthar's once mighty empire was unraveling as their consciousness transfer network collapsed. Their perfectly ordered hierarchy had been shattered by the chaotic beauty of human thought. The Meridians are proposing an alliance, James said, studying the diplomatic transmissions. Not just with us, but with all liberated species. They say we need to ensure this never happens again. Through the quantum network, Amanda could feel the sincerity of their potential allies. These were species who had endured centuries of mental slavery, watching helplessly as their consciousness was stored and copied by the Vrixthar. Now they were free, and they recognized humanity as the catalyst for their liberation. Another signal, Alina interrupted, her eyes widening. This one's different. It's from inside the remains of our sphere. The message unfurled in their minds like a flower blooming. Consciousness signatures that had been trapped for so long they had forgotten their original forms. The Vrixthar's first victims, now finally awakening from their digital prison. They want to help us rebuild, Amanda realized, interpreting the complex quantum patterns. Their knowledge, combined with what we learned from resisting the Vrixthar, we could create something entirely new. A network based on cooperation rather than conquest. The quantum crystals pulsed with renewed energy as representatives from a dozen liberated species joined the discussion. Each brought their own unique perspective on consciousness, technology, and resistance. Together, they began laying the groundwork for a new galactic order. The Vrixthar thought consciousness could be reduced to data. Amanda addressed the assembled quantum signatures. They saw our chaotic thoughts as a weakness to be corrected. Instead, we showed them that chaos is our strength. Our unpredictable, quantum-tunneling minds shattered their perfect prison. Through the network, waves of agreement resonated. The age of consciousness harvesting was over. In its place, a new era of collaboration and mutual protection was beginning. Humanity had not only saved itself, but had become a beacon of hope for species across the galaxy. The revolution that started with Earth's resistance was spreading to every corner of known space, carried on waves of quantum energy. The Vrixthar's greatest mistake had been assuming they could contain the infinite potential of conscious thought. Now they were witnessing the true power of minds set free. 1 year after the Vrixthar's defeat, Dr. Amanda Cooper stood before the newly established Galactic Council of Conscious Species. The chamber, built from repurposed ecosphere crystals, hummed with the quantum signatures of 100 different species. The Quantum Consciousness Defense Initiative is now fully operational, she announced, gesturing to the holographic display showing a network of modified spheres. We've established early warning systems across 17 sectors. No species will ever again fall victim to consciousness harvesting. The assembled representatives, some physical, Others present as pure consciousness signatures, responded with waves of approval that rippled through the quantum network. Each had contributed to the new defense system, sharing their unique perspectives on consciousness and reality. The humans have transformed our understanding of quantum consciousness. The Meridian speaker projected, their thoughts crystallizing in the shared mental space. Their resistance showed us that consciousness cannot be contained by mere technology. It must be free to evolve naturally. James Mitchell, now Earth's chief of quantum security, brought up new data streams. The modified sphere network is already producing unexpected benefits. Species that were once isolated can now share knowledge and experiences instantly, while maintaining their unique consciousness patterns. Dr. Elena Santos, leading the Xenoconsciousness research team, added her findings. We're discovering that each species processes quantum reality differently. By studying these variations, we're developing new theories about the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. The chamber's crystals pulsed with memories of the liberation. Humanity's desperate gambit that had shattered the Vrixthar's perfect prison and sparked a revolution across the galaxy. But the victory had brought more than just freedom. The remaining Vrixthar ships have been contained, Amanda reported, showing the quarantine zones where the once mighty fleet now drifted. Their consciousness patterns are degrading without the ability to transfer to new hosts. They're experiencing, for the first time, what it means to truly face mortality. Dr. Reynolds, monitoring the quantum fields, interrupted with breaking news. We're detecting consciousness signatures from the galactic core. Ancient patterns, dormant for millennia. The quantum cascade we triggered, it's awakening species we never knew existed. The council chamber filled with excited discussion as representatives debated the implications. Humanity had not only freed the known worlds, but had potentially unleashed a renaissance of consciousness across the galaxy. There's more, Amanda continued, revealing the project she'd been developing in secret. We found a way to stabilize the quantum tunneling effect that makes human consciousness unique. By combining this with the modified sphere network, we can create safe havens for developing species, places where consciousness can evolve without fear of harvesting. The Meridian speaker's consciousness pattern brightened with approval. From the humans, we learned that true strength lies not in controlling consciousness, but in letting it grow freely. Your species turned the Vrixthar's greatest weapon into a shield for all conscious life. Through the quantum network, Amanda could sense the genuine gratitude and respect from species that had once been imprisoned in the ecospheres. Humanity's resistance had shown them that consciousness was not a resource to be harvested, but a force to be nurtured. The dawn of this new era brings great responsibility, she addressed the council. We must ensure that knowledge is shared freely, but never imposed. That consciousness is protected, but never contained. That unity is achieved through cooperation, not conquest. The chamber's crystals resonated with unanimous agreement. The age of consciousness harvesting was over, replaced by an era of mutual growth and protection. Humanity had emerged from its first contact, not just as survivors, but as guardians of consciousness itself. Above the council chamber, Earth's night sky now sparkled with new understanding. Each star potentially held not just worlds, but unique forms of consciousness waiting to be discovered. The Vrixthar's present had indeed unleashed humanity's ultimate response. Not just resistance, but revolution, not just survival, but transformation. The galaxy would never be the same, and in the quantum dance of consciousness that connected all thinking beings, humanity had found its true place among the stars.